1933. The depths of the Great Depression. Almost 25% of the American labor force, more than 13 million people, out of work. Dorothea Lange, a studio portrait photographer in San Francisco, was so moved by the jobless and homeless in local breadlines and soup kitchens that she began making street portraits, showing in stark black and white what the shortage of work and hope was doing to people who were too often and too easily unseen and overlooked. By the fall of 1935, Lange was working for the government's Farm Security Administration, documenting migrants from the Dust Bowl, masses of sharecroppers, tenant farmers, and their families, traveling in wheezing, overpacked motor cars between work camps and shantytowns. I am trying here to say something about the dispirited, the defeated, the alienated, said Lange, about the wounded, the crippled, the helpless, the rootless. Lange had personal empathy for the physically disabled. She walked with a deep limp, the result of childhood polio, which Lange said was perhaps the most important thing that happened to me. It helped her see in the migrants, as she said, things that were more important than how poor they were: their pride, their strength, their spirit. No photograph shows that better than Migrant Mother, an iconic Lange photograph, sometimes called the Mona Lisa of the Depression. Part of a sequence of shots Lange made in a California pea pickers camp in 1936. The image is a still photograph, yet deeply moving. The woman's face is layered with emotions: exhaustion, endurance, despair, dignity. Flashes of the human condition are in frame after frame of Lange's work: the value of family, of community, of a sense of home and a sense of humor. Photography, said Lange, takes an instant out of time, altering life by holding it still. A photographer could alter a viewer's life in profound ways. You have the power to increase his perceptions and conceptions, said Lange. Lange tried to do that on a national scale in her work documenting the forced relocation of Japanese Americans to armed camps after the attack on Pearl Harbor in 1941. She was deeply moved by the patience, the forbearance of the internees, more than 100,000 held at internment camps, many of them children. Lange's photos also stood as evidence of the poor conditions that many African Americans suffered at the time, due in part to racial discrimination and injustice. Despite long and frequent bouts with illness, Lange worked as a documentary photographer through the 1950s into the 1960s. She died in 1965 at the age of 70. She had tried, she said, for a visual life, an enormous undertaking practically unattainable. I have only touched it, she said, just touched it. Today, Lange's photographs of the 1930s stand as dramatic records of the human costs of the Depression, as well as the dignity and the strength that helped Americans survive.